Hello, my name is Lewis Talley. Welcome to this video from InSource Productions, where today we will be talking about how to build a simple batch report using Dreamreport. Let's first begin by giving a basic definition of what we mean by batch report. In the picture on the left, you'll see a sample of a report built using Dreamreport, built using no programming, using standard drag and drop tools to configure the graphical elements that you look at. Up towards the top, you'll notice that there's a batch number that corresponds to the graphical display on the right. And so over on the right, we have the InTouch Reactor Demo, which is just using some simple process steps to go through and add water to a reactor vessel, add steam, and then add concentrate, which is a percentage of the two. Turn on an agitator, mix them for a predetermined amount of time till it reaches a predetermined level, and then export it to a product storage tank. So what we're interested in doing is capturing some specific information about each batch. So that's what we've done over here on the left in the report, and we've used the batch ID feature within Dreamreport to be able to do that. So let's see what it takes to build a report that looks like this. Before we get started, some assumptions so you can follow along with this video if you'd like are that you have Dreamreport installed and configured. I'm using, as I mentioned, the InTouch Reactor Demo, which is the sample application that installs as part of the product. And in this case, we're assuming that the tags are already historized using the Wonderware Historian. So now let's switch into the Dreamreport Studio. So we're now in the Dreamreport Design Studio, and the first thing we'll want to configure is the driver configuration. So I'll click on Driver Configuration from the Quick Launch menu, and I've already added the Wonderware Historian, but you can browse to it from selecting under Data Source Type Wonderware, Wonderware Historian. Click Configure and give it a name, and you'll configure the options to connect to your Wonderware Historian. Next, let's select a data item to add to the report. In this case, it will be the batch ID. So I'm going to give that a name. Select where that comes from. In this case, it's coming from the historian. So I could browse the tags. I've already pre-selected all that information, so you're going to browse the tag that identifies what the batch is. And then down here at the bottom, you define the time period as batch-based, batch, reactor 1 batch, and you can specify the options such as if I were looking at the live and I wanted to get the current one or the last 5 or what we're defined as a golden batch. I can do that, so select OK. Now I want to go and get the start time and the end time of each one of the batches. So to do that, I'll go and select date and end time. So from here, we'll call this something like start time. And the important thing is you want to select the option for dynamic generation. Does this the start of the reporting period, the end of the reporting period, or the report generation time? I can specify what my time format is. Then I can come down here and specify the same options that I had under the batch tag that I pulled back. So I'll click OK. I'm going to do the same thing for the end time, and the only difference is I'm going to select end for the next one. So I'll go through and skip that because I've pre-configured that with some fonts that look a little better. So let's see what the final definition of that actually looks like. So just as I mentioned before, so there's the end, there's the start, and so this is going to give us the batch ID, the batch start time, and the batch end time. Now let's just assume that we want to go get a simple trend of the reactor level and the reactor temperature during the batch. So to do that, I'm going to come over here and select the chart object. So from here, we'll want to select the data item to add. So we'll find reactor level. We'll just add reactor level just to keep it simple. So down here under define time period, I've already selected batch based, my batch, reactor 1 batch. I'll leave all the defaults here. I'll click OK. So we'll select run project. Wait for our project to load. From there, I'll select the name of the report, batch report. Select generate. Now open it to verify it. Voila. So in 5 minutes or less, we've built our first batch report using some very basic objects with zero programming. I can go in here and add all kinds of statistical objects to see what the min, max, and average was. But just a note, so it's currently showing batch 60, which started at 10:41 and ended at 10:42, which is consistent with if I were to show you the application right now, It's on batch number 3, batch number 63, so you can see that it's using current data. So back to the Design Studio. To summarize, the first step that we did was configure a driver to talk to the Wonderware historian. Then we defined what a batch was. In this case, I said historian batch number, and I gave it a name, Reactor 1 batch. So from here, I'm just visualizing what that is. Batch ID comes from batch number. It is batch based and Reactor 1 batch. And that's the basis for everything that's being displayed here, whether it's the start time, the end time, or the chart. So the real magic comes from defining these two guys right here. And then you can define whatever graphical elements you need to meet your requirements. We used a chart, but you could use any of the other display types or alarm aggregations or anything like that. Interested in learning more about our training tracks that we now offer? They are a great way to take the guesswork out of which class to take and when to take it. Check out the link below, and thank you for your time and watching today.